Question 12. Calculate the angle between the diagonal BD and the rod DP. So the diagonal DB is across there, and then we're looking for the angle here. So we have two triangles to work with. We have a triangle on the base, which we need to use to find D to B with C. So this is a right angle, and both of those are 6. So we're looking at a triangle here. So we can use Pythagoras' theorem to find x here. So we find that x squared is equal to 6 squared plus 6 squared. Square root all of that, and we can get rid of the x. So x comes to 8.485. The next triangle we're going to look at is between the height from the middle to the point P, across there, and then up that diagonal in order to find the angle. So we have another right angle triangle where we're trying to find angle x. We know that from P to there we have half of this value. So if we divide 8.485 by 2, we find that we have 4.2425 down here, and we know that this rod is 10, so we can use trig now. So we have a right angle here again, so we have the adjacent and we have the hypotenuse, so we know that the cos of angle x is equal to 4.2425 divided by 10, and then cos to the minus 1 will give us x, so we find that x is 64.9 degrees to 1 decimal place. Part II requires us again to use the diagram to find another piece of information. So, part II. The 4 slanting faces of the turret are to be tiled. Calculate the total area to be covered in tiles. So we need to find the area of 4 triangles. This time we don't have right angle triangles. So if we look at P, we look at D, and we look at C, we are trying to find the area of one of those, and then we can times it by 4. We know that this is 10, we know this is 10, and we know that this is 6. If we can find one of the angles in this triangle, we can use a half AB sine C. I'm going to go for angle P at the top. Now the way I'm going to find angle P is by using the cosine rule. So cos of angle P is equal to 10 squared plus 10 squared minus 6 squared divided by 2 times 10 times 10. So that is from the formula for cosine rule, rearranged to find an angle. When I do cos to the minus 1 of that, I find that the angle comes to 10 squared plus 10 squared minus 6 squared divided by 2 times 10 times 10. Shift cos, we find that the angle is 34.9 ... Now, as I said earlier, when I come to do a half AB sine C, I need 2 sides and the angle between. So I now have 10, 10 and this angle here. I'm going to leave that calculated display as it is, and I'm going to factor that into my calculation. So the area is equal to a half times 10 times 10 times the sine of 34.9 ... So on my calculator, I'm going to do sine answer to do this part, and then I'm going to times it by 10, times it by 10 again, and times it by a half, and I find that that comes to 28.61 ... And again, keeping this screen, I'm going to times that by 4, and then the total area is 114.47 centimeters squared to 2 decimal places. So I'm only rounding at the very end. Part B is about a cone. So the volume of a cone, so the volume is found by 1/3 pi r squared times by h. That formula is given to you. Fill in any information we know. So we know 122 is equal to 1/3 times by pi times by r squared, which we're trying to find, times by 4. So I need to get r squared on its own. So I'm going to times these 3 parts together. So I get 122 equals 1/3 times by pi times by 4. So I get that is 4.188 r squared, and again I'm going to keep the display on the calculator. I can take that over and divide, so I get 122 divided by 4.18 ... is equal to r squared. So I find that 29.12 ... is r squared. If I square root that, I find that we get, if I could find the square root on that, instead of cube rooting it, so if I square root it, I find that it comes to 5.396, which if I round to 2 decimal places is 5.4 centimeters for the radius. Question number 13. So I have a solid block, a hole is being cut out. So the first thing I need to do is find the length of this block. So I know that the volume is 40,500, which is found by doing 15 times by the length. So if I do 40,500 divided by 15 times 15, which is 225, I will find the length. So I find that the length is 180 centimeters. For the hole, when I drill the hole out of here, I know that the area is 25 centimeters squared. So the volume of the hole is 25 centimeters squared times by 180. So I get 25 times 180. So the volume of the hole is 4,500. So I'm now going to find the volume that is left when I take the hole away. So that is 40,500 subtract 4,500. So that comes to 36,000 centimeters cubed. So that is the volume that is left. Now the formula for density is found from density equals mass divided by volume. So if I'm trying to find mass, I can rearrange that so that density times volume is equal to mass. So I know my volume and I know the density. So I have 2.7 times 36,000 will give me the mass. So 2.7 times 36,000 gives me a mass of 97,200 grams for what is